Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky. The memory of the star that threatened all burns eternal in our hearts. In its wake came an age of silence.
Okay, so the first word we're looking at today is foreboding. When you get a foreboding, you get a sense that something bad is going to happen. A foreboding is a foretelling or a sign that something bad is coming or may come. The meaning is very similar to the word premonition. When you're looking into the future, but your feeling isn't good. Most times foreboding implies that something evil is coming, but sometimes it's used for anything bad up ahead. So if you look at the scary looking forest here, you may get the feeling that there are bad things hiding in the forest. So it would be best not to go alone. Another example, she had a foreboding that the trip would get cancelled due to the hurricane. So because she knows about the hurricane, there is a good chance that traveling is too dangerous, and therefore the trip will get cancelled. And next up, eternal. If something lasts forever, or even if it just feels like it's going to last forever, you could call it eternal, which means that it goes on and will never end. It is endless. So for example, if you look at the picture we have, the Fountain of Youth, which is a mythical spring of water that gives people eternal life, free from sickness and death forever. Okay, moving on. In the wake of. This refers to the consequences or effect of an event, especially some kind of big disaster. So I'll give you an example. In the wake of the accident, no one knew how many had been killed. So check out the picture here, where the building all of a sudden collapses. So we can say the event is a very large building has collapsed. The consequence is not knowing exactly how many people were killed. It has a similar meaning to the word aftermath.
Yet with each fond remembrance, we knew those encountered were not forgotten. That someday we would see them again. Perhaps it was no more than wishful thinking.
Next one up, remembrance. So the meaning of remembrance is basically the ability to recall past events. It's when we remember things. So remembrance is a noun and describes the situation of remembering, whereas remember is a verb. The grammar and use is different, even if the meaning is similar. Let's also talk about the difference between remembrance, recollection, and reminiscence, as they are all nouns with similar meanings. Remembrance is when we remember things when reminded of it by others, whether it's by another person or an event, such as a holiday that we celebrate. We may not be able to remember the details or all the facts about the event, but we remember that it occurred. For example, we have days of remembrance for certain days in history. Recollection is the ability to think back using your brain to pull out specific information. For example, you may have a recollection of what someone said during a conversation in the past, but the act of remembering the details requires some mental effort. Reminiscence is a more individual experience. It's when we recall an experience from the past, and it usually has a happy feeling associated with it. Think of it having a similar meaning to memories, one that you relive in your mind or relive with others, either as a story or a shared experience. If you've heard the expression going down memory lane, this would be an example of reminiscing. And next one, wishful thinking. Okay, so wishful thinking is wishing or imagining something would happen that isn't exactly realistic. It's kind of like a fantasy. So if we check out the picture, we can clearly see that the bear isn't going to fit inside the igloo. No matter how bad he wants it, it ain't gonna happen. Another example may be if a girl likes a boy, but the boy really doesn't like the girl at all. But she says, "He said he didn't ever want to be with me, but I know he will change his mind and come running back." So this girl is basically believing her own fantasy will come true, but most likely will never happen.
But after the long calm, there are now the beginnings of a stir. The reunion at hand may bring joy, it may bring fear, but let us embrace whatever it brings. For they are coming back. At last, the promise has been made.
So, moving on. The beginnings of a stir. So you're probably familiar with the first meaning of stir when you're making a cake or something, but this has a more abstract meaning. Here the meaning of stir refers to stuff starting to happen and emotions are being stirred up or excited. It's a little bit similar to arouse or shake up something. So think of your emotions inside the pot the lady is holding, and she is stirring up your feelings, so to speak, causing excitement or some other emotion. Next up, at hand. So anything at hand refers to something that is nearby or soon in time. For example, if people talk about the task at hand, they are talking about something that needs to be done or dealt with now. As with this guy here, he needs to focus on finishing his set of exercise. He's got to get it done. So the reunion at hand is talking about the reunion that is approaching or happening very soon. And last but not least, embrace. So the first meaning of embrace is easy to understand, as in this picture here, which is kind of like a sweet hug. But embrace also has an abstract meaning, which is to welcome something with open arms or to completely accept it. So I'll give you an example. Paul was one of the leaders that embraced the different approach. That means some leaders resisted having a different approach, but Paul was one of the ones who accepted it gladly. It has a similar meaning to adopt. Anyways guys, that's it for this vid. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something at the same time. And I'll catch you guys next time.